Hi everybody, my name is Emma and this is Emma Rosen Books, and you may notice I'm in a slightly different location today. Basically, I'm trying out a new location, see how it goes. I would like to use this space for my indie interviews videos. I've done one before, I'll link it below, which was Zoe Williams from My Allergy Kitchen, but I want to be able to interview local indies and, well, maybe not so local, but I needed a different space to be able to do that, so I'm trying it out. You may notice, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the traffic and maybe people walking past a little bit and people talking. That's one of the things I want to try out, just see, is it going to be okay? Is it going to work? So we'll look at the sound and the light and the things. We'll see. Did you look? I put some decorations out. So I asked on Twitter what people would like to see for my next video, and you guys were just as indecisive as I am. It was a tie between all of the suggestions I made, so I'm just going to do a bit of a chatty video because that's what I'm in the mood for. This series of Let's Chat videos are basically just a sit down and a bit of a stream of consciousness. This channel is predominantly about books and writing, and it's nice for me to be able to talk about some of the other things that interest me and just things that I'm thinking about. So yeah, that's what this series is about, and today I wanted to talk about the environment a little bit. So I've always been someone that's kind of interested in the environment and environmental stuff. Excuse the traffic. And like when I was a kid, I started a charity, and it was called the HNA, which stood for the Help Nature Association. I designed a logo and I made up a chant and I made people join. That's as far as it got. But I always cared particularly about conservation. When I was a teenager, I got really into it when I started scuba diving. So I was about 13, I think, when I started. And my third ever scuba dive, my dad taught me. We went on a dive to this reef in, this is in Jeddah in the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia. And we went to this particular bit of reef that had been bulldozed in order to kind of move the beach out, make a longer stretch and all of that stuff. And to go from kind of untouched coral reefs to this just wasteland was something that was very affecting on me in my life, and was why I decided to study marine biology, why I kind of have an interest in all the environmental stuff to do with that. So it was always, you know, something that interested me. But I find it really interesting lately because there's so much progress and so much thought about the environment and what we can do and worrying about it and all that stuff. I find it really interesting to kind of look back and think about where we've come from and then think about where we're going. I mean, for instance, when I was growing up, we didn't have a recycling collection. You know, now I have glass and metal, like tins and stuff, and certain plastics and paper collected from my house. When I was a kid, there would be recycling bins in certain places and you could go and take your stuff, and actually most people didn't. I personally used to collect paper. I had my own study when my big brother moved out. I took over his bedroom as a study, and I used to have a little tray that I kept paper in, and then used to go and, when I was going out cycling, used to go and drop that off at the recycle. But I was always really embarrassed in case somebody caught me with like my rubbish, and I think that was a bit of a thing, like it was embarrassing. I think people used to recycle glass a lot. It was reasonably common for people to collect glass, but nothing else really, and we should just chuck it all away. And I can remember chucking, you know, if you chucked garden waste away, you had to hide it in your bin, because if a bin man opened it up and saw garden waste, they wouldn't collect it because it was too heavy and it might hurt them. You know, I think now it's like fairly standard to have various recycling schemes, and like we have compost at our house, like a compost bin. You know, so that's come a really long way. And I mean, when I was a kid, I remember like the campaign to stop people dropping litter. But now you've got kids, you know, taking part in protests from school, and you know, the climate change stuff. And I just think, you know, there's so much more interest and so much more drive. I mean, but then I feel like at the moment people are really interested, people are really trying. All the single-use plastic thing is amazing, which supposedly has all come off the back of the Blue Planet. That's why Blue Planet 2, which is why people have suddenly got so interested. But I think it's not just that. But in the UK at least there is. But the fact that kind of it's not just like hippies that are interested, it's really in the public consciousness, and I think that's amazing. I find myself feeling very conflicted about like how great all that is, how great all that change is, and the fact that it's still not enough. And like personally, I try and make a lot of adjustments. I try to be conscious of the choices that I make. So for instance, the biggest changes I would say personally that I've made sort of to be more environmentally conscious, yeah, that's the right word. First of all, I fairly recently went pescatarian. Now I know obviously if I went full vegetarian or if I went vegan, that would have like a bigger impact, but for me, I'm somebody that's always been interested in I haven't wanted to eat meat for ages, but I always felt it was very difficult because I've always like lived with people and my decision would always impact on other people who weren't interested in that lifestyle. That for me, the fact that I finally said, you know, I really don't want to eat meat, and found that that was totally accepted, nobody minds at all. It's been a really positive thing for me that I could make that decision and for it to be supported, and that I know that I feel more comfortable ethically with what I'm doing. So there's that. I also feel that minimalism, although I'm not a minimalist but I try, I think that's had a major impact. I mean, I didn't realise quite how much I bought and how much unnecessary stuff I bought, and also things like having to buy storage things to store my things. And so having less stuff and also wanting to buy less stuff has definitely had a major impact. And yeah, my whole attitude to kind of belongings has really changed. I also have a tendency to buy stuff secondhand a lot more than I used to, because I just don't want to keep buying more new stuff and adding to the problem, especially when I buy stuff and then I don't keep it. So I buy more stuff from eBay or charity shops or like Facebook online marketplace thing, whatever you call it. You know, all that kind of stuff, to just try and be a bit more conscientious of I don't have to buy something new. And okay, sometimes you buy something and it's not in as good condition as you hoped, but generally actually the stuff I've bought has been amazing. And then you're giving something a new life, or the things that you don't want you're passing on, and hopefully somebody else can use it, rather than keeping on with all this constant production, especially since it's not like in the old days where you could give something to a charity shop and that was pretty much it, and maybe you could go to a boot fair. But charity shops, I think, have a better, people are more likely to shop in them now. Back then, I wouldn't have been seen dead in a charity shop because it was just, you didn't go in there. Whereas now I think it's kind of a bit cool and bohemian and people don't really mind. So I think that's great, but also we have all this access to online ways of selling things and buying things secondhand, so that's really awesome. I suppose the only other really big personal change I made was to go to use reusable menstrual products, but I did that years ago. I probably did that like 10 years ago, and it's one of those switches where you make it for environmental reasons and it's so much better than the alternative. I would never go back, and yeah, personally would really, really recommend. And there's, even since I made that change then, there's so many new products, there's so much more information out there. It's just fantastic, and I think there's something for everybody depending on what your particular preferences are and like body type and all that stuff, so that's really great. You know, so I feel like I've made really positive changes. But then when you look at things like, well, I fly to go on holiday, I've got 3 kids. That has a big environmental, unless one of them cures global warming, like, you know, I'm not having the best impact. I drive, I try not to make unnecessary journeys, but then you could argue that when I'm going to, like, let's say a baby group, well, is that necessary? I could stay at home, I could just go to the park or something, you know? And I do try, if I can, if it's somewhere within a cyclable distance, I try to cycle. I say that, that's a lie. I haven't done that since my second child, and now that my third child, my youngest, she's coming up for 2, I will start putting her on the back of a bike again and cycling. So just disclaimer, I have not done that since my second child went to school, but I will, you know, to just cut out those car journeys. But, you know, when you look at the fact that yes, I do drive, yes, I do make sometimes local journeys that arguably I don't need to. I mean, I do try and look for like car shares, get other people to give lifts and that kind of things, but it doesn't always work out. I fly, I definitely buy things that, you know, I don't need, even given the minimalism journey. I definitely still do it. I write books, and those books, I mean, sure, the ebook is more sustainable, but the paperback, I mean, sure, it's just paper, so it's not as bad, but you know, I'm still making a thing that's going out there. I don't know, when you look at it, although I'm trying to be as conscientious as I can, and then sometimes you think, oh well, oh that switch is too hard for me to make. And then you think, well, who the hell am I to say, oh no, I must have X, Y, Z, you know, stuff the planet, it doesn't matter. I just think, it's so, I just feel like it's this, we're so well over into the world of, we're all over consuming, we're all, you know, contributing to this issue. and to give you a prime example of that is the whole plastic bag thing, that we all used disposable plastic bags, and I would say, well, it's not a problem me using these because I use them as bin bags afterwards, so they do get used, they get used to line my bin. And if I didn't use, if I didn't get a reusable, disposable carrier bag from the supermarket, then I would buy bin liners, so there's no waste going on here. And everybody just got, you just pick up your plastic carrier bags. And then the dramatic change that made everybody go, whoa there, they started charging 5 pence a bag. And the British public said, hell no, I'm not paying 5 pence. And now pretty much everybody uses reusable carrier bags. And you know what? My bins aren't a problem because I use like old packaging that stuff gets sent in, or like, you know, when you buy like a multi-pack of crisps and you get like the big bag, you know, I still find things around the house that I can use to put in my bin. And occasionally you do end up with a carrier bag because just sometimes you go to some shops and they still give you one, or you really get caught out. I mean, for me it will be when I've got all 3 kids, a pushchair full of stuff, my backpack, and then I need to buy something and there's no way. So it's very rare, but it does happen, and it's never been an issue. I'm never like, oh, my bin, what will I do? But yeah, it was the fact that 5 pence was the thing that pushed that over the line and made us all say, whoa there. You know, the global warming, we weren't bothered about that, but 5 pence? And I just think that's the thing, it's like, why are we all so resistant to, oh no, you're asking too much for me to make it, you know, I have to have my plastic straw in my drink because how will you expect me to drink a drink without a straw? Or, you know what I mean, like I'm being sarcastic because I use straws. I use paper straws now, but you know, for many years didn't even think about it. And I just think it's like, why is change so hard when it really actually matters? And then when I look at the future, what future are we creating? Is it too late? I mean, I think it's amazing what we're doing and that people care so much and there is so much change and so much consciousness. I mean, in the last 3 or 4 years, I have definitely made far more conscious decisions. But is the fact that everybody kind of thinks, well, I have to go on my abroad holiday and I have to be able to drive my car and all those things, just going to make it all, it's not, you know, basically if we screwed it up. Sorry. I worry that we all try, I mean, I'm not saying like don't try, because I very much feel that we should try. I just really worry that it's not enough. You know, you hear all these stories about like how terrible, you know, climate change is, and all, you know, extinctions of creatures and things that are on the brink of extinction and all the stuff. And I just think, is the fact that I've gone on a beach clean and that I don't eat beef or chicken anymore, like, is that, doesn't really feel like enough. So, or I don't know, as I say, it's a bit of a stream of consciousness. I try, and I suppose that's all of us can ever say. And as I say, trying to find that line of like, at one time I didn't mind eating beef and chicken and now I do mind. And why has that suddenly changed in my brain? And I find that really interesting, that idea of like what actually makes people kind of go, okay, now we have a problem, we need to do something about it. I also like all these green technologies. I haven't really said anything about that, but the things that are making it so that we can carry on with the things that we find it hard to change, and, you know, different ways of producing electricity, and companies that are greener, and companies that are very sustainable, and things that are made from recycled stuff, and things that are ethical. But then it's a bit of a minefield, because for instance, if you don't want to use, let's say, palm oil, knowing what palm oil is in, you know, it's just having to like read the packaging of everything, be knowledgeable about what's sustainable, what's ethical, and then sometimes you buy something from a company that you think is green, and then it turns out they're not, or they are fairly green but then they're questionable in one particular arena. It just becomes such a minefield, and I suppose the best way is for companies in general to become more environmentally responsible, and then people can kind of know that everybody's trying their best. But I mean, with large corporations that's not really going to happen, is it? But yeah, I don't know, I just really have this feeling at the moment of like, I'm really trying and I want to do more, I want to do as much as I can, but then some things just seem too much to ask. And what future am I leaving for my children? And I try to teach them, like we went on a beach clean and I talked to them about things like, oh no, we won't buy that particular vegetable because it's in a packet, we'll buy the one that's not, that kind of things, that so that they're starting to understand, you know. But I worry that they're going to turn around to me when they're adults and say, what the hell did your generation do? I wonder what you guys think. Do you feel the same? Do you feel that kind of sense of like hopefulness because of all the great stuff and what people are talking about, and that it all seems like kind of going in the right direction, but also helplessness because is it just too little too late? And please do leave in the comments any ideas for things that you do. I'd love to hear more ideas for things that I could consider within our family's lives. So yeah, definitely fill the comments with suggestions and ideas and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, please do leave your comments, please like if you did, and please subscribe for usually more videos about writing and about reading. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye!